quick, a very simple way, a simple presentation for today. Not too much, not technical lah, but
Okay,
mostly
so
on a few things that that as Derek mentioned, just to capture what I've been through. So I think that the key theme
wait,
here is,
Shahidan,
yeah.
I just started recording only, so
Okay, all right.
yeah, I'll do an intro, then you can share.
Okay,
Sorry.
sure.
So hey guys, thanks for watching this. So for those of you who are watching this in the future, you probably means you guys missed the live session, but it's fine. So Shahidan is a very good friend of mine that I met through the Hacker Collective back 2-3 years ago, where we were learning to code together. That was when he was rekindling his passion for tech. So this is him sharing his journey. Back then I was doing a lot of web development. Shahidan was learning that as well, but on the side, he was spending a lot of time learning mobile apps as well, which is very interesting. So I think we have a lot to learn from him today. And he's going to be sharing about his journey, in Flutter and building mobile apps, and also his journey as a product manager in telecom. So I think there's a lot to learn from him today. So I hope you guys enjoy. And yeah, take over, Shahidan. Go ahead.
Hey guys, so we just jump right into it. So a quick presentation on what I've been through basically. So I think the key theme here is how I learned Flutter basically to develop mobile apps, and then a more important thing is how I rekindled my passion in tech lah, basically. So without further ado, so basically there's three things here that I would like to cover into this talk. We can have a very casual one, but I would like to recenter our talk into three main things. First is how I rediscover my passion in tech, and why I have to rediscover. We'll know about that later. And then the second one is how I gain my passion in Flutter, as well as trying the freelancing path of programmers. And then lastly is a bit of a retrospective, looking back at what has my journey has been so far. And maybe I can also provide some tips, or maybe some takeaways that you guys can also um, can also practice in your journey as well. So I think rediscovering my passion in tech. So there's this great dilemma that I've been. It's actually to be or not to be. To be a very someone that is going to the normal management path, or someone that is going on the technical path, more to become a programmer as well. So a bit of background about myself. I'm actually an engineering student. So I have a CS background, computer science. But the thing is, if you realize, I'm actually working in TM as a project manager in network project. So you might be wondering why you as a PM, why are you doing coding? So I think it goes to the third one, which is my passion for building as well as toying with stuff related to programming, related to technologies, and related to tech. So these things, even when I'm working as a normal project manager, so these things is always in the back of my mind. I'm seeing people building stuff from scratch, and then I'm seeing they are developing things that they can roll out quickly, and then people can see exactly what they're doing. As opposed to, let's say, being a project manager, you manage a bunch of people, but you don't really have a very you don't really build the product itself. You are more on the management side. So this has actually in the back of my mind, I was always thinking, how do I get back in tech? So is this how my career will be? I will stay in project management. But the answer is no. It's actually depend on you. If you really feel that you can go back into programming or doing things that are totally unrelated with your domain, you can actually do it, but it's more of your effort actually. So the main question back when I was feeling this back to in 2 to 3 years ago was actually, how do I get back in the game? So which leads me to how I rediscover my passion in tech. So when I started looking back at what has evolved from the moment I graduated and I left my coding, my computer science assignments and everything, and then for a gap of 3 to 4 years, and then all of a sudden when I really would like to rediscover the world of tech, there's a bit of gap, and I realized that, hey, it's going to be very tough to start learning everything. There's a lot of things that actually has happened. I realized that gap. So what I started is, okay, let me just join a few coding groups, coding meetups, just to go and hear people talk, and maybe kind of pick up what are the things that they are doing, and then maybe start networking a bit here and there. And luckily, I found one tech community. That's how I got to know Derek as well. So we got together, and then I started also learning, just googling stuff, doing a bit of tutorials here and there. Then I got to know there's a language called Python, JavaScript. So I just followed along, doing very very simple stuff. All those exercises, the exercises that I've learned when I was doing my CS coursework back in the university. So slowly by slowly, I realized like, okay, I'm getting it. So I realized that I can actually start doing simple programming, maybe just a function here and then a small script there, and then I started to apply it. How do I apply it in my current work? For example, I'm a project manager. Sometimes you get these, a bunch of Excel files which have all this missing data and everything. You started doing a very simple Python program just to autocorrect some of the stuff, and then removing the error values that you don't want to keep in CSV format, and then you re-import it in Excel. So slowly, but I started to gain. Okay, this is the world of programming, and but I need to pick a path, right? So there's a lot of things you can go to the web path, you can go to the DevOps cloud management, all those paths as well, and then you can go to the mobile path, security, database, a lot of branches, and it will be very very overwhelming for someone that really wants to go back into the game. But the most important thing is, if you are passionate, then you will find a way. That's what happens to me. I see it not much. I see it more like a hobby at the time. That I was thinking, okay, this is hard. Not normal people wouldn't do, like, after come back to work, they started looking at programming tutorials. Their brain is already jammed up with a lot of work. But for me, it's more like, I'm really passionate about it. I was interested in it, so I started googling here and there, then started watching some YouTube videos and everything. But the like if you see the first point here, joining coding meetups and then having a support group is also important, because it keeps you motivated that, hey, there's a lot of, I'm not alone in this journey. There are also other people that are also in this journey, and they want to achieve what I want to achieve. So it kind of drives you as well. So what happened was, back in 2019, I started hearing about, mobile app, web and everything. I started to hear this word Flutter, Flutter, Flutter. Google is releasing a new framework called Flutter. It's a UI kit, blah, 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 blah. So I said, okay, let me just, I don't have anything to lose, and I also want to pick a new skill. So let me just buy a Udemy course on Flutter and give it a go. It was around 38 hours, 30 to 35 hours of pure video, which, is very, 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 very challenging. You'll be like, you watch one video, you don't understand, you have to repeat it back, you have to try it out at the same time. So is very challenging. It's not like a normal, management lecture where you hear the information is being dumped and then you try to do a notes. In programming, it's a bit different. You see the explanation, and then you code along, and then you have to try your program at the same time, pause the video, make sure that everything is correct, if it's working, if it's not working. So that 30 hours is really really wrong, actually. So but I realized that, by learning and doing this Udemy course, for example, and then I can start building simple apps, very very simple apps, like the to-do apps, and then probably like an app that takes a picture, and then it displays in the app, and then maybe put a button here and there, a very simple form. So you start to get confidence. You gain confidence. Why do you gain confidence? Because you get the hang of how actually the framework works, which is the Flutter framework, right? But why I pick Flutter and what I like about Flutter, actually, that I would say there's three main things which you can see here. First of all, there's this language which Flutter is powered by, which is called the Dart language. And what's interesting about Flutter is that it is actually a single programming language that handles every aspect of an app, be it the layout structure, styling, or even the app interactivity. Now, what do I mean by that? when I started, getting back to learning web, right? So in the web world, you actually have three languages, right, to actually build something. You have the HTML part, which is all about the structure of how the page looks like. And then you have the CSS language, which is actually all the stylings, what kind of color, how's the spacing, how's the padding, the margin, is it going to the center, is it going to the left side, going to the bottom, the columns and everything. And then lastly, the app interactivity. If you press a button, this pop-up will come out, the color will change, those kind of interactivity. So all of this, right, in Flutter is actually one single language. That's what I like about it. The web part, I hate writing HTML and then go to the CSS part, and then you go to the JS part, and then you have to maintain these three languages. Means to say you have to be very good at these three different language. But in Flutter, it's actually one single language, and it's very intuitive once you get the hang of it. Now, in terms of the language design itself, which is released by Google, it is a mix between Java and JavaScript. So if you're coming from Java, where you have very strong typing, the variable, you need to declare the type of the variable, and then the curly braces and everything. So you'll be very familiar with it. And then it's a cross between Java and JavaScript, and that is actually heavily used in Google itself for the internal apps. So it has a very it is I would say, someone who doesn't know that, they'll be like, oh, what is this language for? But it's the language that powers Flutter, and by that connotation, it is actually increasing in terms of usage and adoption. People are starting to use it. Now, for the framework itself, what is the emphasis of Flutter's framework is that it emphasizes on a single code base written in Dart, and it tries to target a lot, multiple platforms. So this is actually a cross-platform technology, by the way, similar to the React Native. But then what's special is about it allows developer to actually compile to the desktop version, whether you're building a macOS app, desktop app, a Windows app, or even in Ubuntu, we have the canonical app. And then mobile, of course, you have iOS and then Android, and then you have the web, of course. So the first release was actually targeting the mobile. The web is sort of complementary. So the web, from what I hear from everyone, is that nobody will be able to beat JS. JS is the king of web. So it's not going to kill any replace. Is Flutter the React killer? No, it's not going to be that. React is still going to be there. Angular, Vue is going to be there. But why the Flutter team also allows web to be one of the supported platforms is that, for example, if you're a company and your main product is a mobile app, you are a mobile app driven company, but you realize that, hey, in somewhere and in quite along the path, you realize that you still need to have some support of web, a basic web app that you want to complement with your mobile your mobile app, for example. So in that case, you can actually pick someone from the JavaScript world, a React developer, Angular or Vue, and start building it. Or else, what you can do is like, hey, my main audience is not in the app. I need it as a complementary solution. I will still leverage on my existing code base from the mobile app, but I'm going to fine tune my design to target the web and just publish it on the site. It's not the main idea of starting your company straight away by building a web-based Flutter app. Okay, so that's some of the things. And what's another thing that is interesting about Flutter is that the way it is designed. If you guys know about Vue, for example, right? The Vue framework, if you have an existing web app or existing web deployment that is purely written in other frameworks, maybe in Django, I don't know, all those other stuff, but you can still introduce new features by adding a layer of Vue, and you slowly start to convert everything into a view-based app, but you're not doing a rewrite. You're just adding a layer of this is a new view page, and then it is interactive and everything. So you can do the same thing with Flutter actually. So you have an existing mobile app which is written in, let's say, an Kotlin or Java for Android, or maybe Swift. You can add a layer of Flutter in it for the new features, and slowly you can see whether you able to convert more features into Flutter. So that's how they it's also an existing feature that Flutter provides. So to actually have people, you can consider using Flutter on your existing code base. And also the single code base here, I couldn't emphasize, because a lot of people, in the mobile world, they will always say, cross-platform technology will never work. You still need an Android guy. You still need an iOS guy. Blah blah blah. But most of the cases, the 80% of mobile apps, you can actually build it in Flutter. And if you look at the programming world, right? There's a main concept that everybody says, the dry concept: do not repeat yourself. But what we are doing with mobile, we are just repeating ourselves with Android Android app and an iOS app, and we need to have two guys doing the same, trying to write the same logic, right? So that's how I view Flutter. Flutter is a way for me to actually, have a single code base and try to target different platforms. And then lastly, Flutter, coming from the Google team, they have quite a good integration with other products, such as Firebase. A lot of people, when I say, hey, Firebase is a good product, the backend guys will be like, hey, Firebase is nothing lah. We can do it ourselves. API, we are very good. We can optimize it, everything. For me, it's like, look at you need to see. For me, I was a bit disgruntled at the beginning, but then I tried to see their viewpoints. Okay, where are they coming from? If they are coming from a big company with, I have my team, I have 5 guys doing backend development. Yes, you're gonna beat Flutter and you're gonna beat Firebase. It's good. But if you're a solo developer, you have only 2 to 3 teams, and you really want to roll out quickly, maybe you code it today, next week you want to ship, then you can actually use Firebase, because it's a very quick prototyping tool for startups. A lot of startups are actually using it as an MVP. And also you have a rich ecosystem of plugins for Flutter. You can actually click on this website here. It will lead you to a plugin page where you can actually pick, let's say you want a Bluetooth support or you want a camera support, and you can actually download it, right? And then lastly, of course, it has a good support and backed by Google actually. So these are some of the things I like about Flutter. But let me give you a brief teaser of what Flutter is about. It's not a very complicated code. I just want to show you, basically what Flutter makes up. So you have the UI here, which is a single page, and this is the sort of extract of the main code that is used to display this, right? So the tip is that everything is a widget. What is a widget? A widget is like a component. A UI component, you can call it a widget, right? So this whole thing, which encapsulates this whole thing, look at it, scaffold is a widget, this whole thing. Inside the scaffold, you have another widget, which is called the app bar, which is this one. And then inside that, you have a body, which accepts another widget, which is the list view, these 2 things. Inside the list view, you have the children, which is 2 components, 2 cards. And then inside the card, you have another widget, which is called list style. And that's how you go into the way of programming things. So also, if you look at my previous slide, right, a single programming language that handles everything from layout to structure to styling. If you look at this code, right, you can see that this is the structure that I was talking about. You have the scaffold, the add bar, the list view, which is the body, as well as the floating action button, this button here. So this is the structure, and look at how the styling is done. The styling is also another widget, which is called text. And you can put styles, what are the colors and everything. So you can see that everything is done in the same code, using the same code. It's not jumping around in HTML or CSS or JavaScript. So that's what is interesting about this framework actually. So and then most of the components, right? These are the default or generic component widgets that the framework itself exposed to us. So the list style, for example, the app bar. So if you compile it to an iOS-based device, which is this one, it will look like this. But it will be slightly adapted if you compile it to an Android-based device. So this is how it kind of looks, and then everybody can actually see, you know, everything is done in a. You can see that it is going down the tree. Actually. So this is more on my part, which is on when I started to dream to actually try go the freelancing path actually. So what I did was that I just, you know, started telling people, you know, hey guys, telling my circle of friends, hey guys, you know, I can build some apps, you know, after doing, you know, maybe 20 hours worth of Flutter course, right, in Udemy. I started saying, you know, guys, you know, if you need some help in doing small apps, I can help you. And then one of my friend actually approached me and said, hey, I have a small company here which is trying to build an internal enterprise app. It's going to be very simple. They will provide you the API, so you are just going to integrate it, and the UI is going to look something like this. It's not a UI that I'm proud of, but who cares, right? I mean, they want the functionality like that, so you try to follow. There's a lot of strings actually from this app which I didn't show actually, but this is where the learning happens actually. So most of the times when we do a course or a Udemy course, for example, we are always in this what I call tutorial land, you know. Yeah, oh, there's new things and there's new features. Oh, we want to learn this, we want to learn that. This is where you started applying when the customer actually gives you, hey, I want you to have the ability to actually create a new ticket where you have this field, that field, this field, and then I want you that each of the tickets needs to be assigned with a priority A, B, C. And I also want to have a feature where you get the engineer. For example, in this case, is an app that actually tracks that allows user to create trouble tickets. This is a company that provides network solutions. So they want the customer to actually able to submit a new issue related to a device that they provide, and the engineers will be able to track, okay, what are the tickets that are assigned to them. So and then we started to actually learn the API that the customer provided, and you think about, hey, what are the best way to actually integrate and everything. So this was my initial app which I built. It's a very simple app actually, looking back in hindsight, but a lot of learning was actually I managed to learn a lot of things from here, from API integration. So again, you know, I didn't really master the whole framework, you know, and then feel comfortable enough to use it. I just went and do it. So this is my first app. My second app is much more interesting actually. It's actually an IoT based app. So what this app is used for is actually for a research project done by one of the university in Malaysia. So this app is actually it complements a web app that allows the user to actually monitor uh, a farming kit. So the solution was there was a farming kit that is deployed in the customer's house with real plants, and then you have sensors around it that actually allow that's actually keep track of the telemetry of the plants. And this telemetry is actually sent over to a cloud solution, which one of the engineers that I work with, they deployed. And from the cloud, it is actually streamed directly to this app. So here the user can actually open up which of the farming kit he has, that user has at his home. And that user can see like what is the moisture level, what is the temperature level, or even the illumination. And also interestingly, I also implemented a feature whereby there's a small pump in that particular device, and you can control it via your mobile app. So the moment you show pump one and then you activate it, this will send a command to the cloud. The cloud will send a command to the farming kit, and then it will actually sprinkle water. So this is a very interesting use case. So I also managed to learn quite a lot on how to actually stream data that is coming all the time. So different based on the previous app, right? The previous app is more like a one-time data pulling or pushing. So this is a different app where the data is constantly coming, and then you also have to update your UI constantly, and you have to check for cases where the data is not coming, so you have to display something, a message that something is wrong. So also a lot of learning that went into creating this app, and then basically showing it to my client, and them appreciating the work that I've done. So this was also one of the app. And then lastly, I have a much more aesthetic looking app that I built. So this one is for another company, and it's basically a food discovery app, right? So what what is interesting about this project is part of my freelancing career, is that they actually have a designer. So this is one of the time when I got scared, because the previous projects, you started doing small projects, and then they'll be like, just do your design, this is a rough design, you can do it, and then I'll be like, I'm trying to make my life easier. I'll try and go and pick the most generic components and then try to generate the UI. But this one, they have a designer who actually draws the overall wireframes in Adobe XD, and they provide it to me, and they say, hey, can you do this, can you do that, can you do this? So a lot of UI related discussions with them. So in the end, I managed to do it as well. I started, really digging deep into how I can arrange the different components. You as a programmer, you always think like, this is the best way to do it, but they are coming from the UX perspective, and you have to actually anticipate this request, and you have to be open about it. That's very important, because then you also learn quite a lot of things. So for example, this screen, like, is actually the same screen, like, but the thing that they requested for me, which I was able to do, is like, for example, if let's say you put a thumb here and then you scroll it up, then it will go up, and then this whole image is like basically um, disappears, and then it gets replaced by this section. So they call it, this is called parallax scrolling. It's a term that I managed to Google around. Oh, this is how they do it in the app. So you learn this because you receive this requirement, right? So very interesting. This is a very UI heavy project. And also, right, what's important that I've learned from this project is that, since this is a complex project, I actually did a rewrite of this project. When I started, for a few months down the line, I did a rewrite. Why I did a rewrite? Because also at that time, I started watching all this, YouTube tutorial that say, you need to have proper code management, blah blah blah. And then I was like, I just want to do it quickly as I can. But you realize that when you stumble into these kind of scenarios, you started to appreciate that, hey, for complex app, you actually need to structure your code in an organized manner, so that whenever the new requests are coming in, new features are coming in, you're able to add without having impact on other features. So this project actually taught me how to actually organize my code feature by feature, and then when the customer is talking about this feature, you go to that portion of the code, and then you modify it, and then you ship it to them. So rather than the previous way of how I coded it, it's like, it's kind of like all over the place. So it was very hard to manage it, but I found out that this is the best way actually to manage it. So this will be my last slide, actually, on basically on the retrospective. So the word retrospective is very important. Is about looking back what you have gone through, and what is actually what have you learned, and maybe what I can actually suggest to some of you guys, if you're a beginner, or if you're in the same situation as mine. For example, you already committed to a job, but you're also thinking about, I want to get into tech, but I don't know what to do, those kinds of. So the first one is, pick a segment or a skill, and be good at it. So in tech, right, there's this the community always, if you go to any YouTube or whatever, the guy will be presenting about one video, and then in the comments they'll be like saying, hey, you need to learn this, you need to learn this, you need to learn this. So in the end, you realize that after watching a video, you realize that, hey, there's more things that I don't know than that I have to learn. So again, you'll be in the tutorial land forever. You'll be just learning, endless learning, and no applying. So I've been there, I've done that. I sometimes I still do it, because these hot technologies will come. Hey, machine learning, blockchain, blah blah blah. You're like, hey, I also want to learn. But then you have to stay disciplined. I'm good at this. I like it. I can be the best at it. Get some depth. So number two, accept the fact that you will never be ready. You will never be ready. You can do 1 year of tutorial, but I will tell you, you will still not be ready to take on projects. The what you need to do is, you just do it. Even sometimes now, I would say, there are certain things that the customer might demand. I would say, I might not be able to do it now, but I will say, yeah, I can do it. You have to be, well, it is very dangerous, saying that, but you need to have a certain kind of confidence, because I have a good grasp of how this framework works. I'll be able to say, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. That might take me a week. That might take me 3 days. You'll be able to say that. But the most important thing, you have to accept that you'll never be ready. So just do it. So the third is that, focus on technology or coding practice that you know best. For example, if you take, for example, Vue, for example, and then Vue.js, they will say, hey, you should use composition API. Hey, you need to use options API. Hey, you need to use Vuex. Hey, you need, you know, I get it. There's a lot of practice or coding practice that you can't master everything, but if you master one coding practice, in the case of, for example, Flutter, I can give you a state management approach, which is called block, business logic operation, business logic component. So that is the most familiar state management that I feel that I can relate to, and easily I can code it up. But the moment I say that, they'll be like, if there's a lot of Flutter guys in this forum, they will say, no, 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 you're wrong. This is wrong. You should provide. You should do this state management. They will say that. But the most important thing, what you are most comfortable at, and how you can actually deliver to customer. For example, if you take in the example of JavaScript, for example, if you can write a normal function, and you can and somebody say, hey, normal functions are not good, you should write a higher order function. I mean, it's the same thing. It's still going to deliver the same thing, right? So it's up to you. So I would suggest you stick to what you know in terms of coding practice. So number four is actually, you don't need to master or hardcore any algorithms or hardcore algorithms that you see in YouTube. For example, people who wants to apply for Google, they'll be doing binary search, those kind of stuff. In real life, you don't really need that much. If you're going to work for Google, maybe yes, but if you're building small apps, if you're building features that are important for your customers, most of the times you don't really need to have these algorithms. If you know how to manipulate arrays, which comes to my point five, which is you focus on practical skills. When I say practical skills, is that I see people sometimes, they're trying to code like how to actually find a prime number, how to code Fibonacci, blah blah blah. Is important. If you have free time, you can do it. But then when I talk about practical skills, is that when you have a framework such as Flutter, how does it work in depth, so that you can actually grasp the how the framework actually works. And then API integration is very much important. It's more on the data management part, as well as how to manipulate the data that you get, for example, in JSON format. So how do you get the data? The data comes to your app, then the apps do some manipulation and then redisplay in the UI. So those are the very practical skills that is quite important, because that helps you to actually roll out features quickly, and also refactoring. So you don't have to really write all this algorithm, but you learn these practical skills. And number six is something that I learned dearly, quite a lot actually. Customers actually don't care. They don't really care how you write code, how neat your code is, but they actually care about Is the app experience very smooth? Is the app stable? It doesn't crash? So, those kind of very intuitive stuff that, programmers sometimes they are behind keyboard. They don't really know much about, they're so focused on, I've seen people that, they try to optimize the codes to achieve a 0.001 millisecond of speed. You like, that's very relative to customer lah. The customer, they just want very visual aesthetics, right? And that comes to number seven. Number seven is about communication skills as well. Sometimes people in tech, they tend to be rigid, right? They talk in lingos, they're like, this is actually a variable, it's very hard. Sometimes they'll just spit out a few technical words which will make the customers kind of like, scared, like, oh, if they change this, it might break things, or it might be very expensive for them. But you as the way I work is that I see them as my partner. I try to be as transparent as possible. If I'm not able to do it, I will say it out. Okay, hey guys, so this feature is very hard actually. I'm not be able to do it. Is either I will say I will not be able to do it. Let's look for another alternative, or I will say something like, hey, this feature is too hard for me to do it now. On top of other things which you have actually presented, you have asked me to do it. Maybe this is a temporary solution that we can use first. We'll revisit later. So those kind of things, you need to have some soft skills as well to manage your clients' expectations. So that's how I would say the retrospective, looking back on my journey for 2 to 3 years right now coding in Flutter. So I think that wraps up my talk. So I don't have any other things to actually present. So maybe I'll give it back to Derek to actually say
Hey,
things.
sure. So, hey, thank you so much, Shahidan. I think it was a really good sharing. I think I pretty much agree with 99% of everything that you said, right? So, yeah, consider that 100%, right? Basically, everything hit it right on the nail. And like, pretty much, I think I speak to a lot of tech people, and literally on this one slide and this 7 points itself, every single point that Shahidan shared are very, very, very true. In fact, I have a few friends, in fact, who work in Microsoft and Google, and they tell me the same damn thing as well. They don't use any single hardcore algorithms, as you call it, in their job. And they're getting paid 200K USD per year, right? So like it's good to have. It's a nice prerequisite, right? It's really for Google to see if you're able to think and solve problems, because they want to set the bar very, very, very high.
Yeah.
But for real world practice, I believe Shahidan has done enough practice. I have done enough projects to know that for most 99% of apps out there, you probably wouldn't need it. Only if you're like a billion-dollar company and
Yeah.
a billion data sets, right? So yes, that's that. Okay, so Jinyoung and Kirby, hey, Kirby, would be awesome if you can have your camera on. Thanks for joining in for the first time. Haven't really met you before. I met Jinyoung before, so yeah, I think let's keep this session casual. Yeah, thanks for joining in. Keep it casual. Feel free to ask any questions you have. We keep it conversational. Really for Shahidan to connect with you guys as well. Do you guys have any questions? If you guys have, feel free to ask. But I'm gonna start first, right, just to get the ball rolling. Yeah. So Shahidan, I mean, if you could go back in time, would you be a developer or would you be a PM?
I think I would pretty much go for the developer side.
Really?
Yeah, developer side. Because in hindsight, because like what I said, developing for me is not something that I see as work, right? It's not something that I see as work, and it's more like, I'm enjoying it. Even though it's difficult, I'm enjoying it, building stuff. So, the PM work, I would say it feels like a work. So maybe I had to go through this journey, right? So because at that time, I mean, what actually, when I graduated, right, what actually threw me off in terms of computer science is just that I would say I didn't have a very good learning experience. So the way management or even business is being taught to schools or to students, it looks way cooler compared to how the CS program was actually designed. The guy, the professor just comes in, let's do this exercise, figure it out, and you're like, oh my god, what is this? And actually my first paper and my last paper, the first and last paper that I actually failed in my entire 5 years master's program was actually C programming. So I failed it miserably the first time, miserably, like near zero lah, I would say. It's very, very bad.
Wait, Shahidan, where do you study again? I remember
Yeah,
you
I studied in France actually.
France, right?
Yeah,
Damn, interesting. So, can you speak French?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, dude, awesome, man.
yeah. I mean, because the learning was done in French actually.
Oh,
Even
wow.
even the exam was actually written in French.
My goodness. But we say we code in France, it's still English, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah. You still in English. You
Oh,
still.
yeah. Okay, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
it's just that they will pronounce it using the French accent.
Okay, okay.
Variables, variable, those kind of stuff. It'll be very different. Yeah, yeah.
Interesting, interesting. Okay, okay.
Go
So
on.
yeah, actually, what you shared, Shahidan, just now about how you kind of lost your passion for
Mm,
coding through a bad experience via
mm,
university is very common. In fact, a lot of my people I've spoken to in the past, they actually this is a bit extreme, lah, but they say if you want to be a computer scientist, you want to be a coder, don't go to university. You're
mm.
doing yourself more harm because he lost his passion after going to uni, and he only found just like yourself, he found it only after he dropped out, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's quite scary, the state of education today, and it's how like Shaidan, you did it all on your own, which is
Mm,
awesome, right? I think the beauty of being able to figure things out, and just hack it through
mm.
is what makes you a developer. What would you say is the toughest point in your learning journey? Was there a point where you felt like giving up, or was it very smooth sailing for you?
I would say there are a few times. Or I mean, one aspect would be, of course, the fact that I'm doing this on the side. So there are features like sometimes given by the clients which are very 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 difficult, and then you're like you don't have much time, and then you still have that call coming in that week, in 2 to 3 days, but at the same time you're juggling between things. So you know that was the challenge that I went through, lah, basically. So, but I still went pull through with it. So, um, I mean, like I said, maybe it was because I didn't actually strategize enough. I was doing maybe one of this. Maybe I was focusing too much on this part, which is learning all these algorithm, blah blah blah, but not so much on the practical side. So that's why even when you have your learning, when you are learning, actually you need to have you need to know like exactly what are the different skills that I need to actually make it right. So if you focus on the wrong skills, then you will have a hard time to actually do it, and then you will
Very
actually
true.
give up. For example, even people as who start coding, right? If you actually, okay, for example, I can illustrate this point, right? For example, if the first thing that you show them is this compared to a binary search program, you'll be like, that guy will be like, hi, bye, see you next time. This is why I feel like the learning has to change. How you are being exposed really matters in terms of how you will persevere enough to actually master it.
Yep. Hey, I think one point that you shared that I really echo is, building by learning projects. And I'm honestly quite, I think it's a big achievement for anyone who's able to close any form of projects, even as a beginner. And that's
Mm,
what I hold very dearly to my heart as well. For all of my students in Sigma School, I believe everyone should be able to learn and monetize their learning process. Instead of
mm,
spending 4 years in university watching lectures, you can do it for 10 years, and that wouldn't beat you doing one small project that gets you paid. Because in those paid projects, you're forced to go through the hard parts, right? Whereas if it's in a lecture or coding along, if it's hard, you just okay, let me watch the solutions, right? And
mm,
you
mm,
just don't go through that problem solving
yeah.
process. So like, okay, so you crack the code in terms of being able to land projects even as a noob, right?
Mhm.
Which is good. But not everyone can do that. So what about the aspects what about mentorship, for example? Do you have any mentors, or how did you navigate through this world?
I mean, I had to do it the hard way. I mean, if I had Sigma school, maybe I would have joined, like, they never know. But I doing the hard way is basically, like I said, I started, joining this tech group in Facebook, started, you know, um, really, really trying to connect with people. Like that's how I do it. And then, like I said, I started telling people, I can build this app, I can build that app, but a lot of people might not want to do that per se, because they will feel very insecure that I'm not that good enough, or what, they will feel that actually. But like I said, you just have to break that barrier. I mean, a good analogy I would say is like, for example, if you're in the startup world, right, and everybody will say like, you should build an MVP, you should get to the market as quickly as possible. But if you reverse it in our situation, right? When you learn something, you have to apply it as soon as possible. That's when you start getting the real learning experience actually. You
That's
learn
correct.
something and you start applying as quickly as possible. But I have to do it the right way, the hard way lah. I mean, telling people. But now have had a few contacts. I even did a few FYP project, by the way, which I didn't show lah. So and another thing which I did even with my FYP project, sometimes with universities students that have problems, right? If they're not happy, I will not take a fee.
Oh, wow.
If they're not happy with what I do, I will not take the fee. I'll just do it, and if for me in my mind, if like if I manage to do it something that they appreciate, okay, they pay me. If no, then it's okay. It's a learning experience for me. That's how I take it. I take it on the chin. But
That's good, Shahidan, because a lot of juniors that I've met, right, they always say things like, no, I like that mindset that you have, Shahidan, like basically making sure you deliver before getting paid. And like I actually met a lot, I would say a vast majority of our junior students, right? And I'm not trying to shame them or anything, but I'm just saying that in general, we were brought up to think that, hey, we need to get paid. For example, like they say things like, oh, I'm not going to do this internship because they pay me $700. And my opinion is just do it. You're a junior, right? Even if they don't pay you, even like in your context, of course you can't do this for a long, extended period of time, like for 5 years, no pay, right? It's for your first 3 to 4 projects. Feel free to obviously take the leap of faith and do it for free. And at least now, like for example, in Shahidan, you have the experience and the exposure now, right? To at least showcase something which will land you. Imagine doing 3 projects for free and then ending up landing 100K project, right? You know what I'm saying? So I think it makes sense.
Another thing that is important is that, like I said, you have these two paradigms. I would say the business people who are very adventurous. Anything under the sky can do, and then you have the programmer that you cannot do this, you cannot do that. They will say no to everything. So if you are really starting out, I would say don't try to portray yourself as someone that is rigid in the sense that if I do this amount of work, X amount of hours, I need to get paid by this. Because these things they spread around. People will be like, oh, this guy is quite rigid. But as opposed to someone who's like, I will try to provide you with the best solution as possible. If this corresponds to what you say, then you can pay me, or else I can still delay. I can still put in more hours to this project until you're satisfied. And this thing actually it spreads around. They will say like, okay, I know a guy. He's kind of good. He listens to what I say. I mean, I'm quite accessible. I can recommend him to you. So that's how I actually maneuver around this world.
That's very, very, very true. Thanks, Shahidan. Hey, Kirby, you there? Or Jinyoung? You have any questions? Jinyoung is one of our new students. He actually joined us a few months ago, but he was doing his finals. I met up with him the other day for lunch. So he's very semangat. He's like going to be learning full time. So hey, Jinyoung, maybe you can introduce yourself a bit and ask any questions you have.
Okay. So hi. My name is Jinyoung, and I'm a mechatronics engineer. That just finished his paper in Tunku Abdul Rahman University. So yeah, TAUC. Yeah. So yeah, I was quite.
What kind of projects you do? I mean, as part of your curriculum.
Curriculum. You mean as in like what subjects do we take and all that?
I mean, a coursework that involves doing a project lah, not writing paper. I mean, I mean, because like I said, I've been through, I feel like sometimes written exam, is very okay, I get it, but the real learning actually comes with having a bunch of people, staying late at night, if you have any projects that you did.
Okay. So we do have quite a few range. I mean, like the first time where I got hands-on into like really programming. I mean, okay, the first programming that I ever learned was C++. Then the first time I really get hands-on was actually learning assembly language and like building our own like dice, like random dice generator like that. And then like I had to think of how to make it a bit cooler. And then after that, I turned that dice into like a dice game instead. So like you can control like how many random, like it can be a dice that rolls for 3, maximum of 3 rows, or 4 rows, 5 rows, 7 rows, and all that.
Oh no, Jinyoung, you can tell Shahidan about the project you did.
Oh yeah. Okay, so yeah, so those are like the simple ones. Now the biggest one that I really like self-learned on myself was actually my final year project, which was actually trying to which was very similar to the second one that you did just now. It was taking data from Internet of Things devices, so basically from Raspberry Pi and Arduino, and then we have like temperature sensor, motion sensor, rain sensor, and humidity sensor. Yeah, these few. So it's like in a smart house system, and then all this data is sent to Firebase, and I would project the data accordingly using an open source chart.js. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
So it was
Oh.
just displayed there.
Wait, sorry, Shahidan, just a quick question. So, for example, Jinyoung mentioned things like Chart.js, and there's millions of like frameworks out there, right? So when it comes to Flutter, what about all these graphing charts and all this? Like, what do you use?
Graphing, I haven't got any. I haven't done any graphing related. Maybe there are some, but like for example, we have to check in this plugin. Normally, the first thing I would do is like go to the plugin.
It's mostly there lah in the
mostly there.
Okay.
If there isn't one, then only I'll start thinking about how I build my own.
Ooh, man, that would be painful if building your own.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Mate. Kirby, hey, how's it going?
Hi, good. Yeah, from Hong Kong, and
From Hong Kong.
yeah, I just learned about this session through Eventbrite. I guess.
Oh. Cool.
Yeah, I searched through the Flutter keywords and then it comes up this session, and then I'm very much interested in it. And
Awesome.
unlike you guys, I don't have a very technical background. I come from a accounting degree like 10 years ago, and then I've been working in the sales and marketing field for a long time. And I actually learned Flutter, I guess around last September or late August. And then starting from Udemy, and then got myself a mentor, starting a project. And I guess I think what you guys said is right. It's never really, you can't really finish the whole course and then keep reading and then to improve yourself. You have to take on the project and then get your hands dirty, as they said all the time. And then I think that's the part where I learned so much, and you realize what you understood at the very beginning is totally different when you do it practically.
Correct.
Yeah, and so far so good, still very fun. And because I can't really give up my current job, as in they pay way better than as a junior developer, and I'm not totally ready yet. So I'm still.
What do you do again currently?
I'm doing IT sales.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So and in the sales and marketing field, so they pay different. And I've been working for the IT firms for quite a while. So to me, I'm totally newcomers for developers, and I'm very interested about the mobile developing.
Okay.
That's how I started actually.
Okay. Hey, awesome, man, Kirby. Very, very nice to have you with us. And we will be having a lot more events with this. Shahidan, I'll be working with him very soon in terms of building a Flutter course and also to build a lot of software projects with Shahidan. So yeah, we'd love to get connected with you. Let's keep in touch. Yeah. Do you have any questions before we wrap up today's session?
No, I think the presentation material is all I have, and you just addressed the for future, if there is a Flutter course, then I would pretty love to take a look at it and see if I can fit in. And of course, in the meanwhile, if I'm lucky enough, I probably will launch my first app in the Play Store,
Nice.
for fun. But in terms of I at the very beginning, I thought this Sigma school was like community-based learning, group learning thing. So I'm not sure if I have a misunderstood, if I get the expectation right.
No. It's
No.
we're a school where we try to do it in peer-to-peer learning concept, where our students learn as well, right? And this weekly events is really a form of event where we bring on board very nice and experienced people who has done it to share their journey, to more like motivate and share different perspectives in terms of how they broke into their journey in technology. Like, so Shahidan is one very good example.
Yeah, surely very encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
No problem. So hey guys, let's
sharing.
Shahidan, do you mind offing your sharing session? Let's take a quick picture before I wrap up.
Okay.
Okay, to on your camera. Hey, awesome. Wow, he's in the train. What the heck? Yo, Kirby. Oh no. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Awesome, guys. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Kirby, and thanks, Shahidan, and thanks, Jinyoung. Thank you so much for joining in. I will be uploading this recording very soon. Then, yeah, let's keep in touch and stay connected on the app. And looking forward. Thanks, Shahidan.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Good weekend.
Thank you, everyone.